Hi everyone, Janie here, and 2 weeks ago I introduced you to the Triptych Easel card with a twist, which is a card fold that I designed, and that one was an A2 size, but I also shared a 5x7 size that I had made for a friend, and I got some requests to do a tutorial on the 5x7 size, so that's what I'm doing today. Here are some of the instructions along with measurements and scoring, so feel free to pause the video and do a screenshot or write this information down so that you can work along with me. I'm going to be using this digital kit designed by Dahlia from Mandalay Cards, and it is exclusive to Decorate Your Life Facebook group where you can download it for free. I will put a link below to Melinda Davis's video where she shows the entire kit. And I will also have a link below to Decorate Your Life Facebook group in case you're interested in joining. I love using digital kits because you can print out what you need and in the sizes you need, and that is exactly what I did here. So for this card, you can either use a pre-folded 5x7 card, or you can make your own using a piece of cardstock that is 10 inches by 7 inches. And then you'll need another piece of cardstock that is 8.5 inches by 11 inches, and you'll be able to cut all of the pieces from that, and you'll have a couple little pieces left over. All of those measurements are on the sheet that I shared on the screen a minute ago. And next I cut the layers from the silver cardstock, and these are all of my pieces layered together and ready to put on the card when I get to that point. So to create the card base using a 7-inch by 10-inch piece of cardstock or your pre-scored card base, put it on your scoreboard with 10 inches across the top and score it at 5 inches, and then you're going to score it again at 3.5 inches. The score line that was at 5 inches is a mountain fold, and the score line that is at 3.5 inches is a valley fold, and it will look like this once you fold it. Next, I'm going to be using my paper trimmer and putting my card base at the 3.5 inch mark. I'm going to cut across to the first score line, which is 3.5 inches, and this will create 2 square flaps that are each 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and it'll look like this. For this next step, you need to score from this inside top corner to the outside bottom corner, and you need to do that on both sides, so the top inside corner to the bottom outside corner. And to do that, I like to turn it over and use my ruler. You can use a scoreboard, you can do it whatever way works best for you, but for me, this is what works best. And so I just line up the corners, make sure my ruler doesn't move, and just push up on that, and that will create a crease. And then I'm just going to bring it right over and make sure that everything lines up perfectly right down the side, okay? You don't want it to go over the other score line, but you want it to go right up to the other score line. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, I've got both of my corners done. And now what we're going to do is and flip it over and show you that it's going to look like this, like little kitty cat ears. And what we're going to do now is we're going to glue or use double-sided tape, whatever you want, on this section, and we're going to glue that down. It's my preference to use my Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Sometimes I use a combination of the double-sided tape and the glue, but you use whatever your preference is. You just need to glue this part down. So, got that. I'm going to fold that back over. And there we go. Okay, now that we've got that done, and you can see what the twisted easels are going to look like here. Now I'm going to add the next piece. So for this, I'm using the piece that is 5 inches by 6 inches, and with the 6 inches across the top, I'm scoring it at 5 inches, And I forgot to score it again at 2.5 inches, and that will come up a little bit later in the video. So this is the back easel piece. So this is the piece that is 5 inches square, and then it has this section right here. And we're going to be gluing that to the back side of the card like this. I like to make sure it's centered. You can eyeball it, but one of the things that I know is that this is 7 inches across, this is 5 inches across, so there's a 2-inch difference, which means I can come in 1 inch, as soon as I get my ruler going in the right direction, I can come in 1 inch on each side and leave a little mark for myself, and do the same thing over here, come in 1 inch, leave a little mark for myself, and that tells me that this is where that needs to go. And actually I put that mark up a little bit high, but it doesn't matter. I've got this one to go by right there. So I am just going to add the glue. And if you're worried about the pencil marks, I'm actually going to be putting a piece of white cardstock across the bottom with the sentiment on it. Or you can always just erase the pencil marks. So I'm going to line that up at that 1 inch mark. I'm going to fold it over, making sure that everything is lined up. Okay? You want it to be right up against the card, that fold up against the card fold. And yep, I put a little bit too much glue on there and it's oozing out, but no big deal. Like I said, I am going to be putting a piece of cardstock across the bottom here. So now we have that, and guess what I forgot to do? Yep, and I'm leaving this mistake in because I can start all over again, but I'm not. I forgot to score right here where it's going to fold. So I'll be right back. Okay, I hope you're still watching because this is the piece that was 5 inches by 6 inches. We scored it at 5 inches, and it also should have been scored at 2.5 inches. So I'm going to do that right now. We've got 2.5 inches right there, and now it is scored at 2.5 inches. So the good news is, if you forget to do that before, you can do it afterwards, just like I just did. And now you've seen that I'm not a perfect crafter. I make boo-boos. I think we all do. So there is our back easel piece ready to go. Luckily, the step that I missed is in the written instructions that I showed on screen, that hopefully you paused and did a screenshot or wrote down the instructions, and that way you won't miss the step that I missed. Okay, to save time, I've glued all of my layers together, and the most important thing that you need to watch is how to glue these twisted easel pieces on, because it may not be what you think. But first, I'm going to glue these other pieces on, and then we will get to that. So while I'm gluing these down, I'm going to tell you something that I'm not showing in this video. For the back easel that is 5 inches by 5 inches, you don't have to make it square. You can make it 3.5 inches by 5 inches if you would like. The important part is that it is 5 inches tall so that it'll cover the front of the card when it's folded, but the width of that piece can be altered. Just be sure that you also change the size of the piece that it attaches to. Okay, so I'm going to start with the back easel, and we're only going to be putting glue or whatever adhesive you're using on this piece. We're not going to put anything back here, just right on there. And as usual, I am using my Beacon 3-in-1, but as I've said before, you can use a wet glue, you can use, double-sided tape, you can use a combination of both. Whatever is, whatever your choice is. Now, when you're doing this, make sure that this piece is facing the direction you want it to be, okay? So, looking at it, it's the right way, not upside down or sideways or anything. And you can bring it down like this if you want, just to make sure that everything is lined up the way you want it, because you don't want it to be wonky. You want everything to fit perfectly. So this looks good to me. Now we're going to get to the tricky part. This is the tricky part. And when you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, we get it. You know, you put the glue on this piece and you put it on there. But that is not the case. So first of all, I want to make sure I have these on the sides that I want them to be on. And yes, you only put the glue on this front triangle here, okay? Only on this piece right here. But there's more to it than that. And actually, I should have showed you before I put the glue on. So, you don't want to put it facing you. I realize that that sounds like the right thing to do, but you don't. You want to turn it so that the bottom is actually facing the inside. So, let me get this on here, and I'm going to show you on the other one before I attach it. But make sure that everything is lined up, that your sides are lined up, everything is lined up. I had a little bit too much glue here and it came out. I do have a glue eraser, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so you can see now when this stands up, it's facing the right direction. Okay, so I'll show you again on this side before I add the glue. If you put it facing you, when it pops up, it's going to be facing sideways. Okay, you don't want it to face that way. You want it to face that way. So when you glue it on, you make sure that the bottoms of both of them meet here in the center. Okay, so again, just putting the glue right here on this center triangle. Well, not center triangle, but the triangle on this side. And try not to get too much glue on it this time. Okay, so I'm facing it inward, just like that. And making sure that both pieces line up, that they line up on the sides, the bottom, the top. Everything lines up perfectly, okay? And there you go. That's what the twisted easel part looks like. And we're definitely not done. And that's what it looks like, woohoo, like that. And this is hard to do, tilting it back for you to see. Okay, so now we have the stopper. And it goes at an angle like a diamond, okay? And I've put double-sided tape on the back because that's what you need. Hold on one second. I wanted to grab that so you can see that it is the foam tape that I'm using, not double-sided tape. It is double-sided foam tape because you need it raised up a little bit. And it's going to go right here in the center. And one of the things I like to do is kind of make sure that that point is also in the center. And I happen to have a ruler that has the center, the 0, and then it goes both directions. You can probably just eyeball it. It should work just fine. So I'm going to remove the backing from the foam tape. And I'm going to add a few drops of glue. I do not want to cover the foam tape completely in glue. That's just kind of a waste. But I like to put a few drops because, well, a couple of reasons. One is because I feel that it sticks better, my beacon, better than the, yeah. And the other is so I can have some wiggle room. So I'm kind of letting this come together and making sure that everything lined up before I push that down. So let me get that lined up. That looks like it's right. Okay, so now that's pushed down. That's what's holding that up. Those are what's holding the back up, and I'm actually not done with the back. So when I'm not tilting it, everything stays in place, and you will see pictures later. But this is what it looks like so far. And normally you'd have an image back there, but I wanted to put a snowman back there on top of that, and I just wasn't sure which size snowman I wanted to use until I got this all done. And then I could stick it in there and go, oh yeah, I think that's the one I want to use. And actually I think this is the one I want to use. One is just a little bit bigger than the other because I wasn't sure. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pop him up with some foam tape and put him on there, and I'll be right back. Okay, here is my finished card, and I will have pictures for you here as the video is ending so you can see it, you know, standing up instead of in an awkward position like this. And this is what it's going to look like when it's closed, when your recipient gets it, which is just super cute. I love the way that this looks. And don't forget, on the back is where you can put another piece of cardstock, preferably white, with your stamp sentiment and any message that you want to write on there. And then if you're worried about the recipient knowing how to stand this up once they get it, you can always explain it to them, but I have found that most people figure it out on their own. Thank you so much to everyone that requested this tutorial. And of course, thank you to all of you that have stopped by to watch. This card fold is really special to me, and I hope that you like it too. And if you do, I hope you share my video with your friends. And if you're not already subscribed, I hope you consider it. Oh, and if you missed the tutorial for the A2 size version of this card, I'm going to have that linked right here on the screen as the video is ending. Also, don't forget, there's going to be links below in the description box to DecorateYourLife.com Facebook group, where, if you are a member, you can download that paper pack for free. And I'll also have a link to Melinda Davis's video where she shows all of the papers that come in that set. Merry Christmas and happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.